Hello, this is my first video, and this channel is going to be mostly about philosophical thoughts, my insights on certain aspects of life, and it can also have a lot of psychological aspects in some videos. And so today we're going to talk about predeterminism, like the idea that everything is predetermined. So I'm going to take a personal stance here and say that I believe that everything is predetermined, which means that you don't have any free will and that it is a complete illusion of your mind. So let me start off by saying I don't believe in any divine creator, and I don't associate with any religion. Um, but I do believe that from the moment that the universe has appeared into existence, which is in our current understanding the Big Bang, like after the Big Bang, I believe that after that initial explosion, every outcome at any given moment was sort of written or predetermined in the initial conditions that appeared right after the explosion. So I'm first going to give you an example and try to link this idea to the human cognition and choice making. So let's say that I flip a coin, right? We've all done that. And initially, I have no idea if it's going to land on heads or tails. So it's 50% probability that it either lands on the one or the other. Because I'm just a mere observer with the established opinion that this is how probability works, right? Statistics. Now, let's say that someone gave me some external information, or something gave me, like, I gathered some information about the flip that I did. So it gives me information about the air resistance at the moment of flipping the coin, the force that I applied on the coin with my fingers, the height of the free fall from the sky, so on and so forth. So now we have many variables, and it's possible to establish a formula, a mathematical formula, to predict or to calculate in a more accurate way the probability that it lands on heads or tails. So let's say that just by adding this, like, a few variables, my probability now dropped from 50% initially to 21.5%, for example, because now you took into account all these little factors that influence your result, or the outcome. Now imagine that one day we have the technology and the scientific means to add an infinite number of variables to this equation to predict, like, the trajectory of the coin. Then we can assume that there would be almost 100% chance that our prediction is going to be actually observed, true, which simply means that there were a lot of external variables that dictated exactly how the coin was going to end up at a certain moment t. And also, like, if we try to trace back to the initial condition that made this coin flip possible, so let's say like the initial condition being the force that I apply, right? The force in newtons that I applied on the coin. So it depends on the muscles that I have here and on my fingers, the articulation and everything. So let's say my wrist had a certain pain, right? I had a wrist pain at the moment that I flipped the coin. So now your probability has really been affected significantly by this little factor, which is the pain in your wrist. Then you trace back the reason why you had this pain in the wrist in the first place, and you see that it's because you worked out yesterday, for example, and you did something wrong. Why did you work out? It's because you wanted to feel better about yourself and distract yourself from your thoughts. Why did the thoughts appear? So on and so forth. You see where I'm coming from? Then this will lead us to the very initial condition, billions of years ago, when the universe actually appeared, because it's just a succession of different events that follow the same rules of physics and dynamics. Now, I think that we can all agree that the human mind also is made of particles and neurons, and especially the part that involves this decision making, right? This is where you have an idea of what choice you want to make, and you actually execute that idea. It's the prefrontal cortex mostly, and the very neurons that allow this thought to be possible. Let's say what you want to eat at lunch, right? It's made out of particles and atoms that follow the same laws of physics as the rest of the objects in this universe. So now let's say that, okay, so I want you to try to dig deep into your thoughts and try to catch your thoughts before you actually verbalize them. For example, you say, I'm thinking of this. I'm going to say this. You actually think about it before. But try to grab that thought. You will soon see that it's actually impossible, because you are made of the thought itself. Or like, try to see the source of what is inducing these thoughts. Usually it just comes to you, right? You can't really control it, because I'm thinking right now, but like, how could I have thought if there was no initial condition that made the thinking process possible? So it's the whole narrative that I have in my mind of this whole conversation, this video, that makes me say what I want to say. If I didn't have the memory and all these networks that actually constitute the memory, I wouldn't be able to say the thought, right? So did your thoughts randomly appear to you and gave you the illusion that you made the choice to say that, maybe? That's what I want you to think about. So we can now think about free will. So what about free will, right? You might think that maybe we're able to control our behavior in the future. Because, for example, we say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And you feel like you have total control over your life. But what made you think about waking up at 8 a.m.? Was it this video? Who knows? What made you click on this video? So on and so forth. And you'll see that the conditions that allow you to modify your behavior and apply it in the future is actually always dependent on the interaction between different particles that exist in the universe. So it can be the sound waves coming from your telephone. It could be the visual stimuli or whatnot. Now, with all this information, as human beings, what the fuck should we do, right? Should we even live? Should we kill ourselves? Is it worth it to live if you know that no matter what you do, you don't have any influence over life? Now, my personal answer is that it does matter what we do and what we think, because we're here on Earth as humans to basically survive and adapt to our environment while trying to enjoy ourselves. We're very driven by hedonistic needs like sex, food, I don't know, there's also socialization. It's not really hedonistic, but it does all come down to kind of like self-pleasuring, self-soothing. So we're kind of driven like animals by these needs, right? And if you actually follow this philosophical idea that everything in this universe is predetermined, that you have no control over anything, then you would simply be letting the universe run its course, which can be positive or negative or just neutral, right? Depending on the observer of the event. But this can lead to massive damage to yourself and others, from like a human perspective, because you live while thinking you don't have any control over your life, so you start, I don't know, murdering people or just robbing a bank or anything. The existential crisis that would come from integrating this philosophical idea in your life can be quite dangerous, depending on how you interpret it and how you use it. But at the same time, this principle also dictates that no matter what you do, no matter how much you got depressed by adopting this point of view, it was actually supposed to happen simply because it happened. The conditions led to that event. It kind of reminds me of, Bandersnatch on Netflix, that Black Mirror movie that they made a few years ago. It does illustrate this idea in a more different way with video games and simulation type shit. Now, take everything that I said with a grain of salt, because I'm just a young guy in his early 20s, and but as a human, I believe that it's better not to be super aware of this reality. This, well, it's not necessarily a reality because there is no objective reality, but let's say adopting this perspective. I think that it's better to live in the illusion that your actions actually stem from you, come from you, and that you're the real owner of your thoughts, actions, and no one else, right? This will simply allow you to play your role as a human being, the role given by nature, and just play dumb and be blind, but for your own good or for others' own good. See what I mean? Yeah, just play the dumb role that you've been given, and maybe, just maybe, one day, maybe at the last few hours of your life, you got too old and now you're just sitting down, lying down, and you're about to die. Maybe just allow yourself to recognize that you never actually made a choice in the first place, that it was all predetermined, that it was all supposed to happen, and just fade into the darkness with that last thought being in your mind, that nothing really mattered. Thanks for listening.